everyone, and welcome. Salutations and welcome to our Glorious Ashes of Creation June development update. We hope that you all have been having a wonderful month. I know on our end, we definitely have. It's been a very exciting. I am Margaret Crone, your community marketing lead, and I'll be kind of guiding you on this tour today. And with me, as always, is our creative director, Stephen Sharif. How are you doing, Stephen?
I am doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. And of course, we have our special guest. We're going to try to rotate out our guests each month. We have Michael Bacon, the one, the
Hello.
only. Everybody loves
Hello.
bacon.
Yay.
I gotta do like an air horn.
Wait.
And who's the special dev that you brought with you?
Oh, this is Judo.
Oh,
She's
Judo.
she's part of our
Judo.
she's part of our optimization team.
Aw. And she's like 14 years old, right? She's an old lady.
She's an old lady girl. Yeah.
Oh,
She's
so
14.
precious.
When I met my wife, we went out and got a cat together like the first week. So
Aww.
I just jumped the gun and premonition, all that stuff.
You
That's how
knew
we knew
it was
she
meant
was
to
the
be.
one.
Aw.
That's how we knew she was the one.
And now you have like 3 or 4 cats, right?
Yeah, 4 at the
4,
moment.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's posting photos of his awesome cats lounging on the Marshall stacks, like edgelords, which you're going to see some more edgelords later today. But to give you kind of a run through of what you'll be seeing today, we are going to go through our reminders. We have a studio update from Steven. We have a design/engineering goodies coming up. And we'll also have a short little video that will be going through some environments and talking a little bit about combat revamp updates. And we also have our environment art and character art update. And we're going to give a little bit of extra time for Q&A. We know that last dev update, people were like, you didn't do enough Q&A. So we're going to try to do quite a few more questions this time for you all. And of course, if you missed it, Stephen did do an AMA with the MMORPG Reddit community. So if you're kind of a newer person to our community, that might be a great resource for you to check out. But a lot of those questions, I feel like maybe we've answered some of those in the past with our more hardcore fans. So the questions that we have in this Q&A segment will be newer questions. So let me take it over to our quick updates. Of course, we do have our monthly cosmetic swap over for Deeds of the Dauntless, which will be July 7th, 2021 at 11 a.m. Pacific. As noted in our news article, we always let you know when they're going to be swapping over a whole month in advance, so you know exactly how long you have. Of course, within this article, we have an FAQ with that tells you a little bit about the Alpha 1 pre-order package. And if you still have any further questions, definitely reach out to us through our support Twitter or put in a CS ticket, and we would love to assist you. I also wanted to talk a little bit about our web updates. You've probably seen we've done some downtime throughout the month in order to resolve some issues. One of the main ones that we resolved was causing some legacy users to have login issues. So we've resolved that now. We put in a bunch of bug fixes for just other little things that we noted or that people reported to us. So thank you so much. That the last update that we had, the big one, had a lot of account related things oriented to it. So we definitely wanted to give it a little time before we implement anything new. But we do have our next update. We'll be adding in another payment option. You guys have highly requested a PayPal option. So we're going to add that as a third payment option. And keep giving us your feedback on all of the things and we'll continue to update stuff. We will have some new updates coming for like the support page and forums eventually as well coming down the line. And we'll keep you guys updated on when those are coming. Further on the updates front, we have our dev discussions. In last month's dev discussion, we asked you, what are some of the elements that make for a more realistic or lifelike world when you play a game? From NPCs to environments and beyond, how much does realism matter to you generally? And I know that this is going to help Bacon's team greatly. They're very excited to hear your feedback on that front. He's thumbs upping right now. Here, I'll put the camera back up so you can give them your bait. There you go. I need someone out there is going to make a GIF of it. And of course, next month, we have another dev discussion, which is actually about guilds, which will be interesting because, we do also have our guild gathering, which is a little bit different. And last month's was, or I guess this month's was, share your fondest guild memory from your history of gaming, bonus points for sharing pictures and or videos. And oh my gosh, you all have shared so many beautiful memories with us. I believe Toast might have already made a report for this one and shared it with the team. We really enjoyed hearing your guys' nostalgia, and we definitely want to bring back those feelings. A lot of us share similar vibes, so it's cool to it's cool to see that our stars are aligned, that we all agree on on those fronts. And of course, our next one is going to be about internal conflict. So I'm definitely curious what you guys will have to say about that. So keep tuned next month for all of those discussions. Beyond that, just so you know, and as a reminder, of course, that we have upcoming Alpha 1 preview spot tests that have been going on every month or every week, in some cases multiple times a week. Our next one will be today, actually, at 2:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Pacific, with an upcoming test on July 1st, 2021 at 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific. Of course, all times and things are subject to change, so we definitely highly recommend that you check the Alpha 1 access on the forums and discussion channels for those. And if you don't know how to access those, you can head over to our twitter.com AOC support channel, because that has a pinned post with all the information on it. And a reminder that the visual NDA is still in effect, but the verbal NDA has been lifted, so you can talk about everything with your heart's content, but no streaming and no sharing videos. And of course, last but not least, we do have our content creator program, which is now taking applications. But I do have some notes in regards to that. Remember, as noted from our previous live stream, we have so much interest from you guys that we actually have decided to hire on a new staff member. We are looking for an influencer relations specialist to help us out, and that's over on our career page. If you want to go check that out, intrepidstudios.com/careers. And if you know somebody that would be great for the position, feel free to share that application with them and have them apply, as we'd love to see from them. I've already started doing some interviews, so, it's been exciting. And of course, we'll be opening up a secondary program. We talked a little bit about this last month, and we are calling that the Content Creator Training Academy, where we'll help content creators level up their skills to be able to graduate to our official content creator program, because we truly feel that there's so much passion for Ashes of Creation, and we really, really want to give back and help you guys grow, because, we're excited too. And of course, do note that some people might not make it into either of these programs. And if you don't, we'll always let you know why and what you can do so you can reapply at a future date whenever you've improved on those fronts. And I think that's it for my studio updates. So I would love to toss it over to you, Stephen, to talk a little bit about, or my reminders. I'd love to toss it over to you to talk about studio updates. Got a little dyslexia there.
So first of all, I want to apologize for us being an hour, pushing the stream back an hour today. We had some technical difficulties as we were trying to get some recordings. Today is actually a big day from a Alpha 1 preview testing standpoint, because a lot of hard work has been put into revamping the back end of the combat system that was spearheaded by Adam Pipich and helped by with Keenan and Mike and Hunter and Trad, a lot of people, Brian Ferguson, a lot of people helping get that back end revamp in place, which will then allow us to start doing some significant changes on the front end, basically what players will see on the front end side of combat. Some of those changes already have been in, but we're going to be testing a lot of that today and probably over the weekend with some of our Alpha 1 testers. It is a big day, so big congrats to that team who spent a lot of hours over the last couple of months working on the back end stuff. So very excited about that. But we did have some technical difficulties trying to record today's video, but that's okay. It's going to be a really short video just to preface it. Studio update wise, though, things are going well. We have about 30-ish of our team back in the studio, in our new studio. Unfortunately, the furniture did get delayed by a couple of weeks, so we're right now in like a temporary setup. I shared a picture with our PI, with our Phoenix initiates. We're kind of crammed into one section with some temporary furniture and whatnot over the next few weeks because we wanted to be there, obviously for Alpha 1 testing, kind of keeping design, engineering, and QA all in one place together so we can collaborate as, we come across issues. But that's a big step in the right direction. When the furniture does come in, which I believe is scheduled for first week of July, we'll then move our entire team back into the studio. So that's going to be very exciting. It's a great looking new studio. I know Margaret's chomping at the bits to get a cool video up and running to show you guys, get a tour.
We were talking about doing some time lapse because we still have some like paintings and things that are going to be doing on the office, like the murals and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it would be cool to see if they're down with being recorded. It'd be cool to be able to record a time lapse of those.
Yes.
And of course, just kind of show you guys what's going on. I think it'll also help with our social. I know Peter, who is our social media manager, is going to be very excited to kind of be able to take some photos and video and maybe share some stories on like our Instagram of like developers actually, like you can see them doing their work. Obviously, we show you every month what we're doing, but a little behind the scenes action would be, always fun. And we're going to be bringing on a new video person soon. So we definitely have lots of plans to bring like dev discussions back. Or not dev discussions, dev diaries. I'm thinking about dev discussions. Toast, look what you've done to me. I know people loved seeing the dev diaries. We want to definitely do more of those and kind of showcasing the process of development. Obviously, we've been trying to be as transparent as we can. For those of you who are part of our alpha spot test, you get to see the nitty gritty of every week's test. And then, of course, beyond that, our bigger test that we're going to be doing with more people.
Yes, I noticed people said Soft Peter is the social media. No, this is actually a different Peter. This is Peter Basulka.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So, no, very exciting. So on the other side of that, obviously, we as we get back into the studio, we've mentioned this obviously in the past, we are still continuing to hire. We have a lot of positions that are open, multiple of individual positions. So the community team does a great job sharing that across all of our social media. If you guys do see that, feel free to give us a retweet. Feel free to tag your favorite developers and let them know that we're hiring. We are growing the team very large for this huge project that we are creating.
Interesting for you seeing the office from what it was before and now the new office and how many people and all the new faces?
The old sweatshop that we were in?
It was starting to get like sardini, that's for sure.
It was getting very sardini. Used to be. Now we have a lot of space. I mean, there is a lot of space in this new office. We're over 25,000 square feet of studio space. So it can hold, I believe, up to 300 developers. We have a lot of fun plans in that studio. So very excited for that. Yes. One thing I do miss about the old office is we had a couple of garage doors, and when it got a little warm, during the summer, you could just open up the garage doors and just let the wind flow through the studio. We also had fans that were, no joke, the fans were created by a company called Big Ass Fans. That was the name. That was the name of the company, and we would let those fans go like crazy. Now we don't have the fans; it's much more officey, but it's still. I
think
fun.
It'll feel more homey once we get all the actual furniture in and the decor, and right now it definitely feels like a corporate office that you've probably seen a million places. But we're going to make it fun and also have like some arcade games and a little gaming room for folks for their breaks and stuff like that. So we'll have lots of fun space. And once it's all done too, we'll kind of give you guys a tour of the studio. And it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm excited too, because once it's all done, we also have some backers from the old Kickstarter days who actually are entitled to an in-person studio tour.
Yeah, so we'll be inviting you.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'm super excited for that. I love hosting events and like creating events. So that's going to be really, really fun for me.
Yes.
And event seasons are starting up now that COVID's kind of like, people are wrapping up everything.
I noticed Horrendous in chat says you'll need to find a new ice cream truck. For those of you guys who don't know, at the old studio we used to have an ice cream truck that would come by, and one time I went out there and I bought like all of his stuff in the ice cream truck and distributed it through the studio. So ever since that day, he would every day just prowl around outside the studio with his. Remember that?
Like, there's a chance.
Yeah, I remember that.
He'll buy everything again.
There were days where I like didn't come out to buy his truck basically, and he would just sit in front, like staring through the window, like a lost puppy dog. He's like, please buy my ice cream truck.
Oh.
I was like, no, go away, shoot. It was funny though. It was good times. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that's the studio update. Things are looking good. We're excited to be back in office, and we are hiring.
Yes, and we
Yay.
might start doing, live streams a little differently again. Either probably not next month. Next month's going to be probably more playing the game, but because we'll be in alpha. But the next month after that, we'll probably all be in person together. So we'll have a different vibes than this in the future. So stay tuned for that. And of course, we'll move on to our design stuff. Do you want to play the video first?
Yeah, let's play the video first. I just want to preface the video, obviously. So this video is only about 8.5 minutes long. Last time we had a very long video, and we didn't quite get to a lot of Q&A, and I know that's a highlight for many of our longtime followers in the Ashes community. Love getting those questions into the thread. Sarah's compiled those, obviously, and we're going to spend a little extra time on today's stream getting some additional questions and answers in. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. This video, just short overview, we're just basically looking at one of the cool areas in the environment to kind of show you the differences between these areas that exist in the world. It kind of sets entirely different moods. We do that through like volumetric fogs and lighting, and the cool looking Bacon's going to have an awesome time talking about this after the video. But we show off some of the additional costumes. We show off some of the environment. We show off one of the big monster dudes. I talk a little bit about the passives. We've added passives in on the combat side. Show a little bit of the action reticle mode, but basically it's just an 8 to 9 minute long video, and we're like I said, I'm thinking maybe this weekend I'll try to record another video. Maybe, don't hold me to it, but if I do record another video, we'll throw that up on YouTube. So
Or maybe
this
next
is just
week, because we have like a
next
big
week, yeah.
play test. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
exactly. All right, so we'll see you guys in there.
We'll see you on the flip side.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream day with Ashes of Creation. I am joined today by our amazing senior community manager, Lieutenant Toast, the tiniest of toasts. Hey, Toast.
Greetings. I am very, very tiny today.
Yeah, I see you got you're being responsible with your mask, your little COVID castigator, or Corvid.
Corvid.
My apologies.
But yeah, I'm wearing my mask to be extra safe today.
It seemed appropriate, Corvid castigator. And we also have the edgiest of edgelords, lead community marketing, Miss Margaret Crone. How you doing, Luperza?
Hello, welcome to the stream.
Oh my God.
Whoa. Nice, dude.
I know. I like the energy eyes. It's a good touch.
I know, it's so cool. I love it.
And then the man, the myth, the legend himself, the bacon of baconists, Mr. Michael Bacon.
Baked bananas.
Baked banana.
Hello. Hello.
What's the baked bananas in reference to?
Oh, I don't know. I just like the baked bananas, I guess.
I like baked bananas too, honestly. Some good
I'm
banana
hungry.
nut bread,
Those are good.
banana
Yar.
Fosters.
Mhm.
So
What about
we.
wrapped banana?
Oh, that sounds good. I
That was
think.
the most unsure. That sounds good.
Well, it's difficult. I can't think of anything with bacon that isn't good, so I guess I just have to side on the
I'm
good
not a
side.
fan of like sweet and savory together. I
What?
don't.
What? That's
Yeah,
literally
I'm
an
gonna be
entire
odd man
food
out.
group.
I don't like bacon and sugary bacon.
You heard it right
maple
here. She
bacon's
doesn't like bacon.
delicious.
I can't believe you don't like
maple
bacon.
not
How can
fan.
you not like
You know.
bacon?
How do you not like
Bacon on donuts? No, thank you.
Wow.
Bacon and cookies? Mm-mm.
Well, we are super edgelordy today with our costumes.
We are.
So I guess it makes sense that you don't like bacon. But
I like Michael Bacon.
oh, very good.
Ah, there you go. I'll
Well,
take it.
And
we
I
wanted
love
to
bacon. Let's be real. I just don't want it with sweet stuff.
we wanted to jump in today and give you guys just a quick run around in some of the areas that the amazing environment team has built here. One of these. Where are we at right now, Michael?
We are in Elwind Ruins.
Ooh. It's very dark, mysterious, and atmospheric-y.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It used
I
to
love
be a
this plant.
mage stronghold, apparently.
Wow.
Oh.
Loving it. So I guess, guys, we wanted to just kind of show you around a little bit. Obviously, we want to, give you some videos of Alpha 1 as the preview for Alpha 1 as we're kind of testing and how these areas are coming to life. This place is looking very good. I love the fog, the volumetric fog here.
Is that
Yeah.
the ill wind?
The Elwind, yeah, that's right. Elwind.
When
Whoa.
you're deciding what lighting should be in an environment, how do you go about like deciding on the environment atmosphere?
Well, I mean, obviously, when we get to design and, it requires something dark and moody, sculpt the lighting to that. But in this particular case, it was kind of weird because all these POIs kind of sit in the tropics area, which is a, very bright, sunny, happy kind of place. So we had to figure out a way to, to get it dark and moody, like inside the context of that environment, which challenging, but we were able to do that with the atmosphere and the lighting in this area.
Yeah, it looks great. I think it looks very good.
Yeah, I like the detail and the destruction, which is cool, and just what is this? Oh, sorry, I guess they're not seeing it. I'm the only one that's seeing it. There's something very creepy over here.
Uh-oh, where is it?
The Format of Elwind. Oh, it's that.
Jermaine, yeah, just stay away from him.
Is it the big one?
I got my booty
Yeah,
on
it's the
by
big
him.
one. It's the big one.
Ooh, I'm running over to take a look at him.
He looks so cool.
I think I know who you're talking about. I'm gonna enable my avoid aggro. See if we can get a good look at him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna pause. I'm gonna pause just so we can look around this area. I'm gonna pause the server aggro. It looks pretty. He looks pretty daunting.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cool. Very
It's
cool.
like a massive version of the animated armor.
Oh yeah.
And you can kind of see how we utilize some of the different armor pieces. You've probably seen some of these pieces on different outfits, like a Toast Corvid Castigator cloak is on him.
Mm-hmm. And that helmet is a darker version of one that we've seen before as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I love
So is the
about
breastplate.
the costume that I'm wearing right now is I mixed and matched it a little bit with this belt from I can't remember.
Cheating.
I know.
We
I
all are.
had a little
We
cheat.
all are cheating. We all put together weird outfits.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm normal.
This belt has like my material components for spell casting, so I definitely feel like I'm a witch right now.
Good.
Yeah,
You
it's
got some
pretty
witchy
cool.
vibes. It's perfect for this
Oh, yeah.
spooky zone.
I'm just going to run around a little bit. Another thing that we did recently that's actually going to be starting to test today is we adjusted a lot of the back-end combat stuff. So you'll notice, like, as I go into action mode, I have my reticle, and when my reticle hovers over an enemy target, it'll turn red, essentially, showing like, hey, you have a valid target hit. That you can see, and when you press Q, you can lock onto that target. You can also hold tab to alternate between targets. So like that's an important aspect of the combat that we're trying to incorporate, which is like mixing and meshing between tab and action. So you still have that action component, but also are available to use some of your tab targeted skills. And you'll see another thing we added, if we open up J, is we incorporated some additional passive skills. So you can see all these passive abilities: mana regen, attack damage, critical hit damage, health regeneration, defense mitigation, maximum health. A lot of different changes from the passive side of things, and these are based on what archetype you've chosen. So wow, there's a lot of work obviously coming into the preview for Alpha 1 that amazing testers are helping us to kind of find bugs for and whatnot. For example, you can see some of the nameplates coming through the static environment meshes. But I love this environment, Bacon. The environment team's done a great job just kind of setting the mood for this area.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Adam was actually the one that was working on this initially, using parts, other parts that we had around from other stuff. And but yeah, just the level of destruction and Way's got pieces of the wall that are all crumbled in, and all the debris from that destruction all around. And just the environment, it's just really cool.
Yeah, it looks great, and
Very foreboding.
obviously this set,
sure.
I'm loving this set as well. And Margaret, you helped design the set, right?
Yeah. You're wearing, I think, a combination of a couple of sets that I designed.
I
And
know.
then the one set is, the mask is from a set that you designed.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Death's Hand one. Yep.
No, it looks great. I love it, especially in the world. It definitely makes me feel like I am some type of arcane necromancer. The mask
Yeah, I
especially.
think you're wearing part of Face of Sorrow stuff, right? Or no, Death's Hand and Mirror Shade and the Withering
Guys with the withering
Woods one.
woods.
Yeah, it looks great. Well, I know we have a lot of art to show off, and we're just going to jump back into the stream, but we wanted to show you guys, one of these cool places in the environment in the alpha that you guys are going to have an opportunity to take a look at. These places all grow as well with the nodes as they advance, and you're going to see creepier, crawlier things kind of come out of the world, with some bosses that might appear here and there if villages reach a certain size. With that being said, we'll see you guys back on stream here in just a second. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, it seems like you guys were enjoying it. I pulled out a lot of the questions that were in chat. First of all, I do like bacon, y'all. I just don't like it with sweet stuff, okay? And
What?
I'm not a big fan of fries in your milkshake.
Oh, that's so good. How can you dare say such a thing?
I don't like sweet and savory together. It's just not my jam. But you know what? More for you guys. I like my shake and I like my fries, but not mixed. So we did have a couple questions.
Fry in the shake. Sorry, go ahead.
No. We do have a couple questions. So the first one is from, and I apologize if I don't get your names right. You're welcome to Discord message me and tell me how to pronounce it properly. Nelumotra, and they want to know, will you be able to turn off the crosshairs in your settings? And obviously, you can toggle between, action mode or not.
Yeah, so right now, the way that it's implemented, pressing Z as a hotkey, and obviously, key bindings, you can rebind how you wish, but pressing Z right now by default will switch you over into the action combat reticle mode, right? Now, action combat isn't just based on your camera and having a reticle, right? So some of our abilities and skills and weapons utilize projectiles, they utilize skill shots, right? Those are the aspects of action combat that is available. And if you don't want to play with a reticle, you don't have to. You just switch between the tab targeting camera mode or the reticle mode. There will also be opportunities in the future for you to even swap out, what type of reticle you're using if you, we'll have a selection of available reticles as well.
So folks have kind of follow-up questions to that, which is,
Sure.
So will I have to toggle between them if I want to use those different types of abilities? Is that going to be like a necessity?
No, you will not have to. You can use an ability. If you use an action combat ability that's going to be directional focused, you do not have to be in reticle mode to use that. It will fire where that reticle would be. So if you play by feel, right, and you're in the tab target camera mode, you can still utilize your action-oriented skills and abilities.
Okay. And then the other thing that I noticed people talking about was when you mentioned aim lock. Freeman asked, so could I just lock on and use my action combat abilities? Does that defeat the whole purpose of action combat?
No, so action combat abilities will not have a lock-on feature, so to speak, right? Some of those are going to be skill shot only. However, because you can have a mix and match of tab abilities that require a target, you will be able to target lock in action mode as well. Right now, that's delegated to the Q key as default, but you can obviously set that up. You could put it on, your left mouse button, or you could put it wherever you want, right? And when your reticle hovers over a target, it rapidly swaps your target ability, and when you press your target lock, it will then lock that target. And if you have tab-oriented skills, you can use your tab-oriented skills, and they will be used against that target.
Sorry, I'm very distracted by Bacon's cat.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's so cute. It was like kissing you, like rubbing your head. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's great. We get to hear about Ash's creation, and then we also get to watch a cat. This is like my dream. So the next question was...
It's
oh,
just
sorry,
like
go
the
ahead.
old days, right?
Yeah,
Just don't put the cat butt on the stream. I don't want to get KLS issues.
Sorry.
We have Bez Milosi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Sorry. One wants to know, will you change damage numbers so they can be bigger? So basically, can you change your UI? Also, there were some questions in chat in regards to will crits be bigger text? How are you guys handling that? Because that was something different that they probably saw than in the past.
It's very important to note that in Alpha 1, you are not going to see a solid UI presentation. And that's because our UI currently is still very placeholder, very work in progress. But the intent is obviously for there to be some versatility on the player's behalf to adjust damage text so that it can fit kind of their desire. Yes, there will be some different animations for those texts that display perhaps criticals and CC effects or heals. There's going to be a lot of versatility there for the players as well.
All right. Hopefully that answers your questions. And then the last one I had, which was from Squazzle, which we've answered quite a few times. And you've actually, if you've been watching our streams quite a bit, you would know this, that we will have a nighttime. We have a day and night cycle. And we actually showed off some of it in some of our previous live streams where we actually showed beautiful lighting with the sunset. It was just amazing. I highly recommend you going back and watching that if you haven't, because it's just gorgeous. Like, I can never talk enough about how amazing our artists are. And so I'm glad we have Bacon here to represent. But before we go into art stuff, we do have some more talking points on the design side. So you mentioned that we have the new ability and combat system with obviously the focus on cross-server instances and instance messaging and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about more of the work that you guys are doing in regards to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the reason for, why the work began on the back end systems of how combat is done in our game is for optimization, performance, and also just sheer functionality that we want to see present in our construction of certain types of abilities. The previous combat system was, as we were doing testing with large player density, and we were noticing as players kind of move across the world and between these border regions of our servers, it wasn't as performant as we would have liked it to be. So we kind of had to go back and take a look at how we were facilitating this networking for not just the combat and the abilities, but how essentially they're being constructed. We came up with an approach that alleviated some of the performance concerns and allowed us to dial up the number of concurrent players that we have participating in battles and all across the world. So that was a necessary feature development that had to be done, kind of revamping the back end system of how combat is done, allowing us now going forward for the design team with this tool, with these tools from engineering, to construct the types of abilities we want to construct with the functionality that we want them to have and the CC effects, and also be performant at the same time.
Perfect. And obviously, if you guys have follow-up questions, definitely ask those in our next Q&A, because we always do these monthly. Now, development is not always pretty. We do have issues along the way, and one of the things that we have been encountering, and a lot of our testers have been helping us with, is our AI controller and pawn issue. Can you talk a little bit about what was going on with that, how their testing has assisted us, and like how we found a resolution to it?
Well, we haven't found a resolution quite yet.
We're close, though.
Close. We're close. For the past month or so, we've been, I guess not to get too technically into it, but we've been having kind of this issue where as NPCs die in the world in our testing, right? Their behavior tree, their AI controller stays around and builds up over time the number of those AI
Can you
controllers that
explain
exist.
Going back one little step of what an AI
Sure.
controller is for people who maybe don't understand what that lingo
Yeah,
means?
it's essentially the server process that manages a particular NPC's behavior tree and other processes on the server. So as those kind of build up over time, obviously it degrades the server's performance, because now instead of what we were having, which was around 1,000 active NPCs per little section of the world, now we're getting up into the 6 of thousands, tens of thousands over time. It essentially, as more mobs die, more of those lingering ghost controllers continue to build up, and that causes server degradation and performance issues. So we've been incorporating potential fixes for that over the last month. We've been adding additional diagnostic tools in order to identify what is causing this particular issue. We've been doing a lot of spot tests with our very patient and awesome alpha testers that have been a part of these tests, and noticing some of the degradation on the server side. And when you have the server performance starting to dip as a result of that, that's when you're going to experience things like rubber banding issues and lag in with response times for activating certain types of skills and abilities, and it just kind of doesn't give the best of experiences. So that's been a real issue that we've been hammering down on over the past month, as I've said, as part of this testing. And obviously the data and the information that we collect from each of these tests goes to help us find issues like the Ghost AI controller issue.
All right. And then, beyond that, one of the features that we added on was our siege. And so we've been doing a lot of siege fixes, and also doing some polish on that front. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the specifics that you guys are working towards?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Siege is kind of a relatively comprehensive mode in the alpha that's intended for us to kind of illuminate issues that derive from high density player activities, right? So, we wanted to provide a gameplay loop in the alpha that would encourage players, hundreds of players to enter a particular area, all within net relevancy of each other, to kind of really dive deep into the performance of the server and kind of our massively multiplayer encounters. So there's a few things that happens on the siege side. Obviously, having all those players in one area. Additionally, we've incorporated some raid bosses so that we have a high usage of skills and abilities that are being encountered in this, not just as a relation to player versus player, but also player versus environment. Make sure that we can kind of test the performance of our AI and the behavior trees that we have for our raid bosses. So there's 3 dragons that exist in the castle siege environment. Additionally, kind of testing some of the destructions that we have, the summoning of vehicles, the utilization of those vehicles, the physics that exist for those vehicles. Incorporating also some siege mechanics like capturing of control points, conferring buffs onto players on specific teams, having players delegated to specific teams in and of themselves, and the affiliation that exists between those players, being able to join raids with one another, being able to capture a castle, ending a particular game mode in success or failure, the cleanup step process that occurs where you have to reset the doors and the vehicles and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot that goes into this particular mode, all of which helps us to test these particular functions and features, so that as we move that logic on to different systems in the game, we will have had a good test bed for them in Alpha 1. So a lot goes into that. Chris Justo, Chang and Corey Rice, Alexi Kadoli, they're all very big in getting that Castle Siege game mode up and running for Alpha. It was a last minute addition. Obviously, we had to delay, which kind of helped us finalize and polish this process. There was some really cool sieges yesterday that we had a few hours of sieging. It was great to see that some of the balance changes that occurred on the siege level made for a pretty pitch fight. It was fun to see it go back and forth. I think in the first one, the attackers had gotten like to a 75% seal on the throne, and the defenders at the last minute came and knocked them out. So that was a lot of fun to see. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
I was in meetings during all that. I didn't get to play. But we do have some siege footage up. If you haven't checked it out, we have some over on our YouTube, youtube.com/ashes of creation. So if you want to go check out that before you get to see some of the more polished stuff as well, it's always a good way to kind of check it out. People seemed really to have a lot of fun with it. Beyond that, you guys have been working on a lot of quality of life improvements for gameplay and kind of polishing things. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the quality of life improvements that people can expect from Alpha 1? Keeping in mind that some of these are not going to be finalized either. You're going to continue to add even more.
I totally missed the first part of that question.
Oh,
I'm
it's
so
okay.
sorry.
Quality of life improvements that players are going to experience in Alpha 1.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not quite sure how many quality of life improvements there are in Alpha 1. I think this is more foundational testing, core system testing, right?
Well, some of
So
the things like you guys have, made adjustments to the reticles. You've the text pop-ups that were happening before. A lot of more
sure.
feedback than what you were getting. Some of the key
Yeah.
binding stuff, like you weren't able to bind all your keys to what you wanted, and now you can. Obviously,
Yeah,
there might be some
absolutely.
issues with that depending on the devices that you have because we haven't fully tested with every single device in the world yet. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of what's being implemented, keeping in mind that with Alpha 1, many of these systems are in their core state. So as we implement additional features for these systems, like you were saying, Margaret, the moving over the hotkey stuff, and adjusting kind of the reticle mode and feedback for the player. I don't know necessarily if I would refer to those as quality of life per se. I mean, this is just kind of polishing the bare bones state to incorporate additional features that players would come to expect based on the previous game experiences they've had. We're never going to Alpha 1's not going to get to that fully polished state. It's not intended to be a polished state experience. It's intended to be a very core functionality experience, very bare bones. And that's because, from a development standpoint, you don't want to spend a lot of time polishing something that is very likely to have more iteration and significant changes, even at the base idea of a particular system. So, that's why it looks, I mean, I know a lot of players see our alpha and they're like, oh wow, this looks great, it looks like a completed game. But really, well, I've said
not.
this
Not
in
even
the
close.
past and I would say it again, we're not even close to the final
Not,
form, you know what I
not
mean?
even.
Like,
Not even.
yeah, exactly. So there's a lot to look forward to. I think many people who haven't been a part of the Ashes development over the past few years, they can go back like on our YouTube and they can look at just a year ago or a year and a half ago what the difference between the visuals of the game and how far it's progressed over that period of time, and then how much further it will progress as we move into Alpha 2 and the
And
betas
what
and the
core
mid-launch.
systems have been coming online throughout each month.
Absolutely.
Like we are truly sharing our development journey with people. So it breaks my heart when folks are saying that we're not. We're like, literally, we're trying our best to show you updates. Obviously, we can't show you everything because some stuff is just not
Yes.
ready to show, right? Like it's just not something that we're wanting to even put into the build that we're showing to our testers yet. So I think that those are things that you're just gonna have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
We have been doing some other fixes, like we are fixing some teleporting and falling through the world bugs. I know a lot of our testers have been finding a lot of those. How are you feeling about those, Bacon?
Yeah, they're fun stuff to remedy.
I can tell in his
Was just a passing, or
sarcasm.
did you?
I was passing to you if you had anything to follow up on that front.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're just catching them as they come in and trying to do what we can. It's such an enormous system. Some of these are pretty hard to lock down. So just taking them one at a time.
Can you talk a little bit about like the back end of how those things happen? Like when a player is falling through the world or that kind of stuff, how some of that works. If I know many of that is like on the engineering side, but some might be on the graphical side.
I mean, if the level bounds, we've been having some weird issues with level bounds recently where, somebody will check in a level and then it'll just pop over, to like another chunk next to it. And then basically now anytime you go to run the world, from that location, you just instantly fall through the world. And that one's been a real reoccurring issue that we've been dealing with for a while. But we move them back and we fix it up, and
Yeah. So you guys can kind of, I think people see that in a lot of games, but they don't know on the back end, like what causes them. So I kind of just wanted to give them that little.
Yeah, I
journey.
mean, sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's just, the level chunk not loading in fast enough and we go to teleport and just, so,
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons for why stuff like that can happen. It's, that's partially why it's such a huge help that these, alpha testers that we have participating, they show up for each of these tests because their activities give us the data we need in order to identify those particular issues. Because, I mean, we have our internal QA teams, right? And our internal QA they're all beasts. Our QA team are some beasts, led by Sean Ferrens. But, keep in mind that that team can't find everything, especially at the rapid pace of development that we're going through, right? So sometimes they only have a few hours to vet or smoke test a particular test before we hand it off to the external testers that we have. And I feel more comfortable giving off an external play test for our Alpha 1 testers that might not be in the best of shape, because we have the rapport with those testers that they understand that and we understand that, and what they're doing is helping us to refine the game, and so they can see that progress each week as they participate in tests, changes that occur. So very grateful for the testers. They help us to find those issues like level streaming issues or level unloading and stuff like that.
And then beyond that, we've been working on event system fixes, animation blueprint performance, speed updates, and a ton of other bug fixes and polishing in a host of different areas. So hopefully y'all have been seeing that and experiencing those changes who have been testing with us. And it's only going to keep getting better. But yeah. Anything else that you want to add on that front, Stephen, before we head on to environment art? I feel like I've left Bacon in the quiet. I want to bring him in.
Yeah, no, not too much on the on the design front. I know Aimee and Bucky and Chong, they've been doing and Corey have been doing a great job on, and Scott and Doug, and sorry, I guess I should name them all. But they've been doing a great job kind of updating quests. They implemented an entirely new itemization to the game. They've updated a lot of the a lot of the crafting that's in Alpha 1, and they're doing a great job on the design front. We've also just recently, I think, incorporated some additional elite mobs, changing some of the population of the dungeons to incorporate monsters with different abilities and effects that are present. Again, it's nowhere near, obviously, what the full intent of Ashes is intending to be, but it does get those core systems tested and vetted during Alpha, and that's the primary objective.
All right. You ready, Bacon?
Sure.
All right, we're going to switch over to our environment goodies. The first thing here is going to be our object concept art. So our concept art team has been working on a lot of different objects that are going to be in the world that you guys are going to utilize to kind of make the world living and breathing, to give it kind of the feel. And of course, we're actually going to show some of the 3D models of these as well, which when you look at the concepts versus 3D models, you guys are going to be like, what is what? Can you talk a little bit about the process of how this works when you get concept art, and like how you guys utilize it to create the final art? And I'll walk through, or I'll showcase all of those.
Sure. We get the concept art and then we build it.
Thanks, Bacon. And we're done.
Thank you.
We're done with the environment art.
No, I mean, we get the concepts, and then we take a look at the race that's attached to, and and then we go through the sculpting process, and then building the final model textures and all that stuff. So, with these, for the first ones here, these are Kalar assets that we're looking at, which have a kind of more of a European sort of kind of bent to them. We kind of designed them so they're a little bit, they got little subtle, sharp stuff going on in them, just to kind of make them a little bit more foreboding, I guess.
And you're talking about like the fireplace, the hearths.
Yeah, fireplace, the lighting, the the candelabras, and that kind of stuff.
And it's also important, like, even in the concept stage, like, there's a style guide and shape languages that need to be adhered to based on particular cultures, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, yeah.
Yeah, so we created a style guide, and that's kind of initially sort of what starts the process. And then Brian's team has been just doing an amazing job with conceptually with all the stuff that we've been plugging into the game, and and then getting the races to really differentiate between each race, so they really have their own style. And I feel like with the dwarven stuff that we've been doing, that it just feels like that race feels really solid to me. Especially with all the environment stuff that we've been doing with that. There, I think in the past with the humans, the Kalar and the Empyrean, we were still kind of in that pre-production sort of zone. This is kind of a mix of assets as we kind of progress, from the beginning of the project until now. And the Dwarven was the first time that we really had like full-on concept crew and then basically executing on those designs and them being a very coherent race. I mean, as far as like when you look at them and stuff, every aspect from the structures to the props to the characters, character armors, all that stuff. I mean, they're looking really solid. And so and then as we've been doing this, we've been replacing a lot of the assets for the Kalar and the Empyrean to sort of shore them up to get to this kind of same realization that we have with the Denier race.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're doing. So we're tossing a bunch of old stuff out that we had that was early on and sort of replacing it with the new, stuff to really bring those races together.
And I just want to say,
Right.
Bacon has these like Confluence pages made for each of the different races. That's super handy for me because when I'm designing like freehold items or things like that, I definitely look over at those guides to really guide me in regards to each of the different races and what type of building structures are like and how they should look in order to make sure that when you guys get these like cosmetic pieces that they fit within the world that everyone has created, and I get the okay from his end as well.
Yeah,
It's like,
and
this is right.
yeah, and you've been doing a fantastic job with the cosmetic stuff. I mean, it's all that stuff is just so. But yeah, we're really excited. We're really excited to see those 3 races that we're really developing. I mean, we're kind of working on others as well, but I mean, these are the 3 for the Alpha 1. They're really starting to come together and gel together and fleshing them out. So
And then
I
we
don't
have
think
some signs
ahead.
that we're going to show off. And what are these going to be utilized for? What did you guys start creating all of these for?
Signs. Where
Yeah.
Oh, it's like the smithing for. Are you watching the stream, Bacon?
oh,
They're all in the run of show too. I have all the images in the run of show.
I'm on her stream page and I'm scrolling down and trying to sorry about that.
That's okay. You can always turn the stream on and mute it.
Okay.
She's talking about like the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I have
all
a
right,
run
so
of show with like what the text is and then like what
Yeah,
the
we
visual
had-
stuff are.
yeah, we had the service buildings that we were creating, but then we figured for like village stage and the encampment stage that we needed something that was maybe a little smaller in scope. So basically the services kind of start with these marketplace stalls and then they sort of graduate up to and depending on the level tier, some will graduate faster than others, but they start with the kind of the marketplace cart kind of stage, and then they start getting their own buildings as the node system ramps up. And so what these signs are basically for that first layer of village, basically the marketplace stalls for those services. And so that's kind of what these are. So there was 4 of them that were made: the fishmonger, the herb press, what is it, the lumbersmith,
The smithing forge.
the smithing forge. Yeah. So yeah, so it's
People
it's
seem
cool.
like they really
Just-
enjoy them.
lo-
They said they have
Yeah.
personality.
yeah,
Yes.
and that's exactly it. We're trying to inject this more personality
There will
with a lot
definitely
of
be
this
tavern
signage and
signs.
stuff.
I think we've shown some tavern signs in the past too. So don't worry, y'all. You'll get your tavern signs. Next up is some plants. These first 2 images are in regards to like the bark changes that are happening, which you maybe
Yeah,
kind of saw when we were running around in that very spooky area, but it might have been hard to see because of the lighting.
Yeah, but those trees in general have just been completely redone from the ground up by
Yes.
Mia
That's true.
Del Casino, and yeah, she's an amazing. Like I said, she's my sister, and I've been working with Mia for over a decade, and man, she is just so good with she's really good with everything, but yeah, she really shines with vegetation and trees and
Absolutely.
all that kind of stuff. So
I love the revamp she did in this area, and I also love that I don't even need to really give necessarily even direction on it. I'm just like, Mia, this place needs a revamp. She's like, I'm on it.
Yep. Exactly.
And I mean, you're seeing all of that come in through all of the plants that you guys have been seeing as we continue to progress. So very cool to show off those. Next up, we have the Oasis. And I actually have some screenshots here as well as a video that I'll be playing in a moment. But
Nice.
you've seen the concept art for these. So if you go back and you look at some of our previous live stream, we really want to show you the journey of how we create these things. We do it for our character art, we do it for our environment art. But like if you look at this compared to the concept, I mean,
And I just want to preface also, as you're looking at this, I just want you to imagine how when fishing gets fully implemented and that there's a variance of types of fish that can be found, what type of fish is going to be here and how is that fish going to be caught and what's that process and that mini game we're going to include as part of the larger fish, the fish aspect of that. Because when I look at this place, I'm just like, oh man, I would love to spend just a few hours just vegging out in this area fishing.
Oh, for sure,
So
for sure. Yeah, this is the second, one of two of the large water oasis sort of areas that we incorporated into the tropics biome. We got kind of close to the end of the Alpha 1 deliverable, and it was like as I was going through the concepts, I kind of realized that we did get quite a few of those concepts sort of realized, but there was still, it just felt like it was kind of still lacking some of the water element, like inland. And so I got together with Tristan and Brandon, and they put together two of these zones. This is just one of them, the one that Tristan was working on just recently. But I mean, he just recently put this in, like literally just like a week ago. So it's, we're
And it looks
coming
phenomenal.
and we're coming in hot with a lot of this stuff. Just trying to get in as much as we can, to make this Alpha 1, as cool as we could make it. And this whole section, I mean, Tristan knocks everything out of the park every time that, he was assigned to, a zone like this. He just does amazing work.
He's such a creative mind. I love it. He actually put together a video, and I'd love to share that if you guys are okay with me doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to swap over to video.
Wait,
there's some music. Oh, go ahead.
Tristan likes to add music that's not approved. Is there music?
No,
in
this is
that's
this is our
approved?
this is this is music that's
okay,
approved.
okay,
This is
good,
not
good.
silly like
All right, got
Benny
it.
Hill music.
I know.
All right,
Nice.
I approved it. All right, we'll play this and we'll be right back. And so I definitely wanted to show you kind of the screenshots, but I don't think they do justice. Being able to see the 3D world is definitely something. Sorry, cat distraction.
Sorry.
Is obviously much better. And for those of you who have been watching our waterfall action throughout the development process, there are some work in progress waterfalls in there. Those are not final.
Yeah.
I just want to make that apparent. But we have been progressing on that front, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And just to keep in mind, obviously the aesthetic of the world is environment team just does such a great job making you guys all do an amazing job. And I know you get all the love from the community for that. And and it's such an important aspect of obviously Ashes because exploration is such a fun component of MMORPGs. I mean, especially when the world is immersive and you can do things like treasure find and fish and having those things available in a beautiful environment that really lets you get lost in the idea of this world is one of the big components of immersion, and I love the work you guys are doing. You guys are doing a great job.
And
Thank
for
you
me,
very much.
like the fact that you'll be able to have a freehold and like build your own space is also going to be amazing. I've always loved that and enjoyed that in games because it feels like you have a piece of the land yourself and finding property that you want to live on and like the battle between who gets it first and that kind of stuff is always exciting.
And Tristan always does such a great job with the videos. Well done,
he's
Tristan.
a beast, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, moving on to character stuff because we still have a lot to go through and we have a lot of questions that we want to answer as well. First and foremost, we have a bunch of new hairstyles. You might have seen this hairstyle on Toast. I can't remember if she swapped to wearing a different helmet in the video. We've got some more beards. I love that female dwarf hair.
Oh yeah.
These braids are so pretty.
Yeah, these are looking great. This is Chris Atkins and Jinsey doing some of these hairstyles. These are great looking hairstyles. Really love how far the character team has progressed with this pass on the characters, the races, the creatures, and the
Oh my
armors.
God.
It's all looking very,
The
very
beard.
good.
We need a bacon beard.
You know what's funny about that beard was I feel like the hair is nicely done, but the beard is like a castaway beard. Fire.
Totally.
And then I have a little turntable of one of them. So this is the hair with a little bit of a braid in it that's in like a little bun in the back. And then of course you can see the beard with a little twirl.
I think Manny did this one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's lovely.
I think Manny did that one.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they've so leveled up.
Oh,
on the
absolutely.
character front, especially with hair specifically. I mean, they've just been doing some really awesome stuff with that.
I'm so excited for character creation when we start getting that in, because a lot of people are excited to just kind of get their hands on it and play with it.
I mean, you have to have a really, somebody says, as Caveman only says, you have to have a strong beard game.
Very,
and that's a
agree.
very strong beard game. I like that.
All right, next up we have Death's Hand, which you might have seen on, I think I was wearing the breastplate and the cape part. Steven was wearing the mask, bit of it. I was wearing the belt too.
Yeah, what's great is that Corey Rice did me a big solid last night. He stayed late to get some of these costumes in so that we could be wearing them on the stream today. So big props to Corey on that front.
Corey, I almost cried
Corey.
this morning because I was like, when I was putting them on, because for me, obviously I helped design some of these. This one I think you did, the Death's Hand one you designed.
Yeah.
But seeing what you create getting into game is just very emotional. I don't know why. I got really emotional.
Oh, I know, right? I'm going to be scared of my emotional state when we actually launch.
Yeah.
I know. It's just like, I'm going to just be bawling, but no.
Oh, it's happy tears though. I love that our artists put them in the poses that they are in the concept art for the turntable of this. But obviously, we've shown off a lot of different costumes and things of that sort. So I wanted to show this one. We also have our Still Soul plate, which is coming around. I think you've been seeing the progress of this one. We've been getting a lot of feedback in regards to it. Obviously, the goal is to make it kind of feel like it's like this encased ice armor.
Yeah.
That's really what I was going for when I designed it. So we've continually added some more changes to this as we've moved forward.
And Danny did this and did a great job with this set.
Yeah, it looks great.
It's looking good.
We have a turntable of it as well, so you guys can see it in the 3D model. Even give it a little pose, which I love.
So edgy.
And we made the
so
sword
edgy.
and the giant staff.
Literally.
Pickaxe.
Definitely has a lot of edge.
A lot of edge, a lot of ice edges.
I will be honest, the edgelordy cosmetic sets are my favorite to design. That's definitely my inner goth vibes coming through. Speaking of which, we have Brass Harbinger. Some of this is work in progress, so just keeping that in mind that these are work in progress images, but we always like to show you guys the work in progress as we move forward and continue to add new things. We also have the 3D turntable of this bad boy.
Look at it. I like it because in I think of the way that image was set up, it looked really small in the corner.
Just wait. The reason why that's like that, you're going to see something. You're going to see something exciting. That's why he's tiny. Are you guys ready?
Oh no, I'm scared now.
So we try to tell you guys that we make a lot of variants from the different creatures that we create so that you experience different creatures in the world. And we do show a lot of them every month, but this one I'm just so excited to share with you all, which is this guy. He's so epic.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah, these are T-poses, obviously. I
can't wait to see that as like a group boss. Oh, I can imagine some of the animations
when he picks
and
up
skills
4
for him.
people,
Oh, I know.
like carries them in the air, and you have to like shake the hand to like get him off. Like, oh, so cool. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what the design team does with these, and of course the different variants that come out of it.
This is Keith Kovac, I believe, who did this one. It's looking good.
All right. And I think we're ready to head on to our Q&A, unless you have anything else you want to add on the character art side, Stephen or Bacon.
No, just a lot of stuff coming out of the character art team. Chris Atkins and Jinsey and Danny and Carson and Manny. You guys are all doing a great job. Keith, all doing an awesome job. Stuff's coming to life, and it's awesome to see it getting into the game and in alpha.
This is really like Stephen being a teacher, seeing if he can remember all his students' names.
I know, and I'm.
You start
my
naming
God,
them. I'm like, oh, now he's got to name everybody on that team.
I'm so sorry.
I'm just messing with you. Moving on to our Q&A. Of course, we'll play like a little bit of a video in the background whilst we chat. Try to get through as many as can. I think I have about 30 something here, so we'll go quickly.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So we have Tyranthraxis, I'm sorry if I pronounce your names wrong, talking about temporary mounts. Will players receive any kind of memento by which to remember any of the mounts that can die or expire, like a decor item? Oh,
No. Once it's gone, it's gone. I'm sorry.
Stephen Savage. You're just like,
Nope.
Question.
I'm just messing. Half Tilt Gamer wants to know from our forums, augments. Will I be selecting augments on a per skill basis, or can I only choose one augment school for my whole build?
No, you'll be selecting them on a per skill basis. So the augments will stem from a few things, from your secondary archetype selection, from perhaps any organizations and or religions you're a part of, and then as you have those selections available and you go across your individual active skill set that's derived from your primary archetype, you'll have a selection of augments that will be applicable to different skills.
All right. Our next question is in regards to bounty hunting, and this is from Dante Machiavelli. I like saying the name Machiavelli. It's fun.
Machiavelli.
That's a great name.
Isn't that from
Matrix.
No, but
The
yes,
Matrix?
it is from the Matrix. But I thought Machiavelli wasn't that a Sherlock Holmes villain or something?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember, I remember that, right? It's from a Star Trek episode. Next Generation.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Something to
it's
do with a
from Star Trek.
holodeck. Gotta have something to do with a holodeck.
I might be wrong. It might have been something else. I don't know. Starts with an M. Moriarty. No, that's Moriarty.
Oh,
no.
Moriarty. Yeah. Okay. I was wondering. I was like,
Embarrassing.
what is Machiavelli? I'm like, I can't remember that.
Okay.
All right. So this question is about bounty hunting, and it is: if multiple bounty hunters team up to try and take down corrupted players, who gets the credit for the kill? Entire party, or just the person who gets the last hit on them?
For right now, it's going to be the person who gets the last hit. We may change that to any contributing damage source, but we'll see. But for right now, it's last hit.
Okay. And Skyri02 wants to know about item previews. Will players who want to purchase things like mounts in a trade or auction be able to preview them before buying them? So having like a little preview window that you can see it on your character.
Right now, that is not planned. No. So if you have the ability to kind of see other players with it, right, or see it as part of like caravans or something like that, then you'll have insight. But otherwise, no, there won't be like a preview section for player-to-player trading or auction house.
Do you think that's something that maybe down the line, like past launch, that we could maybe implement as like a UI quality of life update?
Maybe. It's definitely not in the scope for pre-launch, but maybe afterwards.
Hey man, I'm just trying to,
No, I
follow up
know,
some questions for him.
I'm just trying
and
to
of
keep
course-
the scope in range. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
I have engineers and
Jalon-
character team killing me. Sorry, go ahead.
Jalon wants to know about music. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you either. Will Intrepid own the distribution rights for the music made by Bear McCreary for streaming DMCA purposes?
Yes, the Ashes of Creation and Intrepid Studios will own the music of Ashes of Creation.
Yeah, and just so you all know, when we put out any music or put out any music in our game, our plan is to not, we want content creators to be able to create content utilizing our game. So, just
DMC takedown.
Yeah, just message us and we'll try to resolve any of those problems if you do encounter any. So just, keep me updated and I will resolve it for you. But I'm usually pretty forward thinking on that front. Our next question is from Arise Site, and they want to know about resistances. Will each monster have its own set of resistances and vulnerabilities, or will the game feature specific types, i.e. like D&D and Pokemon?
So monsters will have certain types of resistances, right? And there will be counterplay between how characters construct their skills and abilities with influences from types of resistance penetration, and that will be a contested stat against the resistances of a particular monster, right? Not every monster is going to have unique resistances, right? They'll share groups of types of resistances based on, whether that monster is a particular element affinity or a particular, heavy armor, particular weapon type, stuff like that. So there will be resistances groups that are shared by certain types of monsters and their location and as it relates to their lore and background and stuff like that.
Okay, and then Noster wants to know about siege scrolls. Is a siege scroll able to be modified once it's obtained? If example, if the node advances while we were questing to get the scroll itself.
No. The questing that is incorporated as part of attaining that particular scroll is very particular to the type of scroll you're attempting to acquire. And that is inclusive not just of the materials required as part of that questing, but also the time associated with completing that quest, because we want there to be a reciprocal relationship between how much time it takes to stand up a node of the particular size and the types of quests that are required in order to attain the siege scroll. So there won't be a method by which you can first attain a scroll for a lower level node and then increase or augment or change that scroll after you've completed the quest. You'll have to go through a new quest again for the type of level node you want.
All right. And continuing the siege trend, we have grilled cheese mojito, which I think is an epic name. Also sounds kind of gross. Like, I'm not sure I'd want a grilled cheese. I like grilled cheese and I like mojitos, but I don't know if I'd want them together. That just sounds weird.
I like grilled cheese and tomato soup.
Ooh, yeah. I want that. I think I might do that for lunch.
I think I have that for lunch.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that for lunch. Stephen and I have a meeting after the stream later today. We'll be eating our grilled cheese and tomato soup. Our question here is, what will you do, if anything, to ensure balance between sides of a siege?
Well, that's an interesting question. So do we as the developers want to ensure balance? Not necessarily. I mean, obviously there are points of balance that we want to incorporate, such as the defense mechanisms that the defenders have, the types of buffs that are acquired through completing to killing the bosses or capturing control points, the stages before a siege when it comes to those node progressions in the preceding weeks. Those are all going to be balanced considering all things being equal between the two sides. But obviously we're not going to control the state of gear acquisition that one side might have as an advantage over the other, right? There might be a much better geared team over there. There might be a much better coordinated team. There might be a higher number of individuals who are a part of the attacking or the defense, right? Those are components that we aren't necessarily going to put on railroads, so to speak. But the aspects of design that we can talk about, like the hit point health of a particular wall or door, or mercenaries that can be hired. What's their cost? What's their damage output? Those are things, yes, we're going to balance. But obviously anything that's player dependent or that has player interaction and activity and determination, you can't always balance, and you don't want to balance those aspects, right? You leave those to the players to kind of coordinate.
And then obviously, kind of like to follow up on that, when it comes to more like competitive, like guild versus guild things or arena stuff, will we have some type of ranking system for those that would be applied for tournament style stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the server will keep a record of guilds' performance and the guilds' like win-loss rate for guild wars and, other types of competitive, either even on the PvE side, when we talk about completion of content and, the first to down a world boss or, those types of things will be kept as part of a record for guilds and or nodes and citizens and stuff like that. It's always fun to see, I think, as a player, your accomplishments get displayed as part of that server history, right? And to keep a record of those things. That's always cool to have available to you. Yeah.
Our next question is from Acareto. I don't know. Actually, I don't know why I said it like that. But And their question is about corrupted areas. If the corruption in an area is not fought back by players, how far can the corruption grow?
That's a very good question. There are certain effects that can happen in a world that does not have a proper response from the player population. And that's the whole idea behind, these events that can happen that, feel like these are natural world progression events. If corruption starts to show itself as a response, as a pushback to the player's development of nodes in the world itself, there are certain things that can happen, such as the spawning of dragons or hordes of zombies that are going to come out and attack those installations, those nodes, those points of interest, and players that don't, communities that don't respond to those in an effective way might see the disabling of certain services, the reduction of certain quest lines for particular organizations. The idea is to keep this as part of a believable living response from the world. So those can get pretty significant, the bad effects that can happen for the community.
Bacon, you're going to have fun making all those environments for as they.
We already started.
I know.
we have a few of them right now in Alpha 1. Yeah,
Nice.
this looks great. Yeah, it's looking, that element looks amazing.
Yeah, if you guys look back, I think a few streams ago, we showed some of the hotbed area, and that's an example of how corruption starts seeping into the world as a starting point, right? And, there's going to be abilities for that to progress and move forward and activate spawners of certain types of enemies around a node and, get players to respond to that.
Yep. Our next question is from Kodu, and they want to know about respawn. Will non-corrupt players always respawn at the closest respawn point, or will they have a choice of where they can respawn?
It's going to be closest. You won't have a choice on the respawn. However, with that being said, certain events may disable respawn points based on proximity to the event and might respawn players further away. And that has to do with the lore behind, death and resurrection and what it means to have your soul connected as a conduit of that, spark of life given from the goddess of creation, being that phoenix type of avatar. And if corruption has moved into an area and an event has started, that the access to those kind of ley line oriented respawn points may be obscured, might not be accessible. So that could create some additional distance that needs to be traveled as part of these types of events.
That's cool. I love living, breathing world stuff. It gets me excited. This next question is going to be for both of you. So kind of think of your answer, but Stephen, you can kick it off with the first answer and then give Bacon time to think about his response. It's from Cornelius, and they want to know, it's kind of in regards to Alpha 1 as a whole. If you had to choose one thing to be as good as possible for Alpha 1 from your perspectives, what would it be? And Stephen, if you can kick us off.
I would say probably super performance. That's obviously Alpha 1, as we've said many times, is a very technical alpha. We have stood up a lot of the core systems. But one of the primary focuses one of the primary focuses is vetting the fundamental architecture of how the networking component of the world, of the game itself, is going to exist. So that foundation is strong and secure moving forward, and we can build upon that, right? It bodes very well, I think, for some of the activities that we have been seeing, and we can take those then to scale further. But vetting that the basic needs of our networking are met, and that we feel confident moving forward and building upon that is probably the most important aspect of Alpha 1. Front-facing kind of visuals aren't really the focus. Content is not really the focus. Even combat in its current form, I wouldn't say, is what you should be expecting come launch, right? So those things are going to have a lot of changes that occur over the different testing periods as we move through them, as we continue to flesh them out, as we determine what all of those core gameplay loops are going to look like in their final final state. I wouldn't look to Alpha 1 to represent that to any player that's thinking, oh, what is Ashes going to be when it launches? But instead, this really gives us, we've taken this transparent development process thing to heart, meaning that you guys get to watch every step of the way as we develop the game. And for me, being a gamer as an outsider to the industry when I started the company, that was such an important thing, because I want other people who don't have the insight what it takes to make MMORPGs to watch this process. And we've had obviously our fair share of flack from the beginning, and we still have that today. But at the same time, there's a lot of very passionate developers that are part of the Intrepid team that are working day and night to make sure that this game lives up to the expectations that we as developers and that our community has as well. So the technical components of Alpha 1 are really the focus, establishing kind of what the foundation for us as a team moving forward is. That's the primary focus.
For you, Bacon, if you could pick one thing that you want to be as good as possible, what would it be?
Well, I mean, like Steven just mentioned, like it's not really about as good as possible at the moment. I mean, for me, it's like it was putting enough components in place where we have a clear direction as far as like where we're moving forward in terms of our technology, like the node system specifically. Like I'm very happy, not with its finished state, but the components are starting to come together in a way that we hadn't had them before, where we're starting to answer the questions and starting to implement some of the systems around like the roads, because the roads are going to like switch out with the node system, the content around it, and the nodes themselves, and how it's going to work with the terrain, how we're going to have a dynamic system. And we did a lot of R&D work, as far as, I mean, we've had iterations of it, from the beginning, but I felt like last summer we really hit on, this is where it really is going now. Like we know for sure, like we were saying, okay, this is starting to really work. And those core systems, even though they're not fully realized, but the framework is starting to get put in place, that we're really starting to see that element of it coming together. And I think that's really exciting. And it's also exciting, like I was mentioning with the races, seeing those actually start to really kind of, you could feel them start getting gravity to them, where they're, okay, that really is what the race is going to be. This is what this race is going to be. And then that's going to, and then that's, counterpoint would be the other races, and as they come together, we know, okay, we have this race over here, we have this race over here, they're really solid, and so these ones, this is what we need to do to get them there, and then the roadmap is really starting to all fall together. So that's probably and so even though it's not perfect, but that was what the objective was for Alpha 1, and I feel really good kind of like where we're at now as far as we know where we're going. So and I think, and a lot of those systems, I mean, the system in general it's starting to look really nice. So I think that there's still a lot of work, a lot of performance stuff that we have to address,
Especially with the node
for
system. I mean,
the dynamic sense of it. It just requires so much to build out. To get that to really work. Properly, and I'm just feeling really good that those pieces are really starting to come together. So.
And to piggyback a little bit on Bacon's referring to with regards to kind of how nodes progress, right? I think nodes as a system obviously is the backbone of the game. And very early on, one of the first things we tackled with regards to nodes was the code behind how nodes collect experience from players, how they propagate, and it was a very manual process, so to speak, right? Like, design an environment, how to lay down each individual prop and building and, essentially then, hide all of those things and activate them based on how the code then, contributed experience from our managing, our server admin and our grid, right? Basically allocating that experience to particular nodes. And so it wasn't a process that was scalable, especially considering that we have 103 different node locations that are intended in the full world, and each of those has to be unique. We don't want to have this cookie cutter templated, process. So, Bacon and Roy, they worked on creating essentially this tool that allows for more, even though it's curated by the design team on how they want platforms to procedurally generate each node's individual appearance so that no node looks the same, and you have this kind of unique identifying properties in the layout of a particular node across the world, right? That was the big like pie in the sky. Okay, we need to get that system up and running. And as Bacon was saying, like last summer, we had the basics of that system start to come online so that we could now create a more procedural method, even though it's curated from a parameters that are set by design and how they want prop placements to occur in particular chunks of these platforms. All of that stuff was starting to come online, and in a way that was manageable both from the environment and design side, to let these nodes now live in a system that's going to be the end result system of when we actually have the entire world built. So that's, I think, a really cool component, because as Bacon has said, like, nodes were a big question mark, for how we want these to look and feel, and they need to hit the kind of expectation that we have, not just having these same node living everywhere in the world.
Yeah, and if you want to go check out our Dev Diary series, we actually did kind of a node tool kind of detail video on that. If you want to kind of see how the system works on a little bit on the back end, and kind of from like a grayscale element of like the different races and how you walk through that, definitely go check it out, because it's kind of a neat behind the scenes development kind of walkthrough of some of the stuff earlier on, and then being able to now see it in game, that I'm sure some of you have experienced even as we've leveled up nodes, has been really exciting for us. That was a very long answer to that question, so I'm going to try to rush through a few more. So I'll answer this next one really quick, which is from Neurotoxin in regards to our career fair. Can we share any updates or plans on that? And obviously, we will share details on that, and we'll make it very clear of where, when, and how you can partake in that if you're interested, or if you want to come down to the San Diego area and partake in that. But right now, I don't have like the full details, but once we do, we will. We kind of want to get our office situated and be ready to kind of have guests come before we fully go into that. Our next question is from Valinia, who wants to know about alliances. How many guild alliances can your guild be part of?
I'm so sorry. I know we're running over, so I had to answer a critical question in Slack. I'm sorry, what was that last question?
No, that's fine. This is in regard to alliances. How many guild alliances can your guild be a part of?
That's a good question. I think right now, previously we may have had a different answer for that, but right now we're thinking of having 3 guilds that can join an alliance in addition to your guild, so a total of 4. But that is obviously subject to change as we actually implement the alliance system, right? And that is, going back to a previous question, how are you going to ensure balance? That's also a component of balance, right? We don't want to create a scenario where, we're encouraging an imbalance in power on a particular server, and part of that dynamic is incorporating guild limitations and alliance limitations. Now obviously you can get past that. I've been a guild leader in the past for many years, and I've had very large guilds, and you kind of have to like create these sub guilds, or so to speak. We don't want to call them like the secondary guild, because then nobody wants to join the secondary guild, and they all want to get the benefits and the passive abilities that the primary guild is capable of creating. So I mean, what that does is it facilitates an interaction that allows for potential splintering, for drama to occur, for people to get upset or whatever in the guild, and that can help to manage a little bit of the scaling of large guilds. It can also be an administrative nightmare. I mean, as a guild leader, I hated having to deal with multiple guilds that I had to construct. So we want to keep the guild limit membership number maintainable, and that also plays into alliances, because alliances confer benefits on associated guilds that are part of that alliance. So right now it's 4, but that's entirely subject to change.
All right. And of course, the chat has been sharing their opinions, and we'd love for you to share yours over on the forums too. Leon wants to know about flying mobs. How will flying mobs be handled, considering the limits on who has access to flight versus gliding?
So flying monsters are not really going to be a thing from a content perspective. Like, yes, we will have flying monsters, but essentially what that means is like there's going to be rotations either in the behavior tree that might make them inaccessible to targets, or they might do some like swooping attacks. They might come and land on the ground and fight you, but generally monsters are going to be accessible from on the ground. So we're not creating content for the limited number of individuals who are going to have access to a flying mount, right? Our flying mounts are only going to be accessible from kings and queens of castles and like mayors of metropolises, of which, you know, server is generally going to see at any given time less than 20 people who have access to fully flying mounts. So in that regard, we're not going to have content that's created for those 20 people to engage in flying aerial combat, so to speak. But we will have like, you know, mounts that are up and hovering and like flying off the ground, and as I said, they'll come and swoop or like land and stuff like that. Like right now we have, you know, one of the dragons does a lot of flying mechanics where he flies up and he's like inaccessible to melee combat. He does like a dragon breath, but then he comes down and he lands and does like a little shockwave and stuff like that. So there's stuff incorporated from a flying perspective, but it's not an entirely aerial combat thing.
Okay, speaking of flying, I got a little flying toast coming in with some clarification. The question was how many alliances you could be in, not how many guilds in an
only one.
alliance.
You can only be in one alliance actively.
There you go. Scairns wants to know about weapon progression. If I dual wield, will I get XP/skills from both weapons?
So dual wielding will have its own weapon progression actives, right? And sometimes that'll share based on the types of weapons that you're dual wielding, right? Yes, I think that answers that question.
I have quite a few more. How many more would you like to go through, Stephen?
How many do we have left?
I think like 17.
Holy smokes, let's do 7 more.
Okay, 7 more. Haikaiju wants to know about stats. Will there be more niche stats in addition to basic ones? For instance, increased healing received from allies, increased armor penetration, etc.
Oh
That's
yeah,
like
I think there's going to be a very wide. Well, yeah. Not just necessarily passive system. So passive system is going to play off of those particular derivatives, those particular stats, right? But there's a wide range of available stats that get waterfalled off of your primary attributes, and there's 6 primary attributes, and each of them stems out into these waterfall type derivative stats. But there's a wide arcing number of influences that come out of those attributes. Absolutely.
Okay. And, I accidentally moved that. Our next question is from Kasiria, who wants to know about housing decor. Can we use weapons or shields with cosmetic skins on them as decoration in our freeholds?
There's for sure going to be certain home decor items that are weapon in nature, right? Whether those be like, I think we have some of them already in the game.
Yeah, we have cross swords with shield, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then whether or not those actual decor items are going to be specifically related to in-game weapons that you can equip, I'm sure that we will have certain decor items that will be representative of unique weapons that you can then that you will have available to equip and achieve in-game.
All right. Magic Man wants to know about UI. Will there be any options to adjust target visibility, such as swapping the circle around a target's feet for something different? Different reticles?
Well, these would be targeting templates, right? I think he's talking about. Yeah, I think that's not outside of the realm of what we're trying to achieve with customizing UI. I think there's going to be options for the reticle. There's likely going to be options for the targeting templates and decals that players can swap between. Yeah.
Okay. And then Unknown One wants to kind of talk a little bit more about corrupted areas. Will there be any areas in the world that are so corrupted that if a player stays there, they will slowly gain corruption themselves?
No, there will not be any areas that confer corruption onto a player.
Every hole wants to know about systems.
Oh, no.
I know, she didn't put the full name there. Are there any mechanics, such systems you wish you could have implemented from another game, but couldn't due to technical workload or other reasons?
Yeah. I would love it if we could have essentially spaceships that you fly out into different planets and I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That would be
Um,
cool. Not gonna lie, I love
yeah.
space a lot.
Yes.
That'll be like
Mechanics.
expansion bajillion when, she takes you to a new planet.
I'm just totally joking. No, I
Bacon's
don't.
like,
I'm so trolling. I hate it. I'm sorry. I don't know of any. Let me think. Is there a system in particular that I'm like, ooh, I'd love that, and then decided not to? Not off the top of my head. I'm sure there's stuff that I've enjoyed.
have you
that
seen the
didn't
amount of
fit into the
systems? I
scope.
feel like Steven just said yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
know.
yes.
That is not true. I've said no to many things.
I know, just
And,
messing.
and I've maintained consistency in our systems and design so that they are, we're not doing scope
I'm
creep,
just
but
trolling you, buddy.
I know.
Bidoof wants to know about gear. Will there be stat requirements to equip gear? So you have to have like a certain amount of strength to be able to put on some armor or anything like that.
Yeah, that's a cool question that came up a long time ago on the design side, whether or not we wanted to incorporate certain types of restrictions for items like that. We decided no, that, obviously we have level requirements that are going to be apparent, that are going to be applicable for particular types of gears. There's going to be affiliation requirements that is for certain types of gear as well. But from a stat perspective, we decided not to go down that route.
Okay.
And the only reason for that is we don't want to shoehorn people into particular types of builds, right? And stats relate to those particular types of builds because there's a lot of versatility that exists within our class system. They don't have to play it per se, and that kind of lends itself to a meta. It's like, oh, you're a tank. Well, you have to tank Constitution, and if you don't take Constitution, you don't get access to this really cool tank breastplate. Stuff like that. Like, it can feel a little too restrictive when you start to dictate from a stat perspective how a character must build their how a player must build their character.
All right. And Vera Lord is our final question today, asking about titles. Are there plans to have any unique titles that only one person can obtain? Obviously, we
Yes.
have like mayorship and all kinds
Yes.
of other stuff.
Yeah, we've had that question before. There's certain organizations, there's religions, there's mayor, there's kings and queens, there's guild leaders, there's guild officers. Like all of those can incorporate particular types of titles that grant you access to certain things. And that's part of our risk versus reward. That's part of our not everybody gets a trophy. Like these are achievements that we want you to strive for. And there's plenty of those types of achievements within the game because there's lots of nodes and there's lots of different pseudo factions that exist that you get to kind of identify and say, ooh, I'd like to do that particular thing very well and better than others. And you can strive to do so. So yes, there
I
absolutely
want to
are
ask
titles.
one more because obviously
Sure.
that one we've kind of answered and I knew the
Yeah.
answers right away, but I do want to ask it. Roni Skiponi wants to know about monster coins. Will monster coins allow you to take part in events on servers other than your own server?
No. The monster coins allow you to participate in events only on your server. Yeah, we haven't really gotten into the
Cross server stuff.
there might be like cross server types of arenas that we institute, maybe. I don't put any promises. This is kind of like a stretch goal, or at least maybe could come afterwards, where
Tournament style
we have ladder oriented activities that exist within particular servers, and those one of those obviously systems is the arena system. But I've always thought it would be really cool if there's a way that like at the end of a particular period and you had like some top number of people for your server who were at the head of that ladder, if they could participate in like a cross realm competition or Olympiad of sorts, and then if your server wins, like they get a server wide buff for some period of time, and they're like the dominance. I think that would be really cool, but we don't have that in the plans for launch.
So maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't. But of course, everything is subject to change as we move forward. We're always going to be taking y'all's feedback into effect. And of course, as we do more testing, we might decide something needs to be adjusted. And we usually try our best to share those updates with you all. Or if something changes, we try to let you guys know. Reminder that we do have our new dev discussion and guild gathering coming up in July. So please partake in those. They very much help our teams. And of course, we have our July cosmetic swap over and pre-order packages coming on July 7th, as well as there's an Alpha 1 spot test happening today from 2:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. p.m. Pacific, obviously subject to change, with an upcoming test on July 1st from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific. Also, we keep you guys updated. Be sure to check out our Alpha 1 preview forums as well as Discord to keep up to date on the latest information. I'm just telling you what is of Friday, what information I have. So if you're watching this at a later date.
The test today might be pushed to tomorrow, by the way.
Okay.
Those of you testers watching, we may push that to tomorrow. There's a couple of issues we're trying to address right now.
All right. And of course, we'll be putting this video up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AstersOfCreation. So definitely go check it out over there. We have all of our videos. We try to keep everything nice for you. We also put them up on all of our social channels as well as on our news. We try to keep you up to date with everything. So whatever social platform you prefer, we try to be on it. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We even post on like the Reddit that's run by our community. We try to just keep you up to date in all of the places. So there's never a place that doesn't have information about the latest news. So just keep in track over there. And of course, we'll be sending emails out through our newsletter. So you can sign up for that over on our website. And I think that's all I've got. Do you have any final words that you'd like to say? Thank you again to Bacon for being our guest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bacon.
Bringing us cats.
Cats, lots of cats.
No, just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Obviously, as you guys know, we love our community. We love our testers. We love sharing with you guys the progress for Ashes of Creation. We're very grateful for you guys tuning in and giving all of your commentary and feedback. And that's what makes this process so enjoyable for all of us that are developing the game, is watching your guys' response to the development, to the progress that we're making. And we love all of you guys out there for tuning in. Thank you very much.
We really appreciate it. Of course.
The very best.
We'll see you all next month for another development update. That one might be more of like a play session, right?
Oh, maybe.
We'll just play with you guys for an hour so you can see the
too
alpha.
early. Yes, absolutely.
All right. We'll see you guys next month. We hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye.